So, good evening to everyone. And as we have our custom to begin the Devar Malchus Shir, the Devar Malchus class with our weekly story. We'll begin with the story, but not before we acknowledge the terrible terrorist attack that took place today. A young mother that was driving in the south near Hebron was shot and killed. Her husband was injured and he's in bad condition. He should have refuah shalema. And if we have to concentrate on the good news, the 6-year-old daughter that was sitting in the car was, Baruch Hashem, saved, and she wasn't scratched. So Baruch Hashem, we have some type of a small amount of consolation. But we know that the Eibishter is watching over us, and especially because his eye is upon the land of Israel from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. And this is where Hashem goes and he places his shmira, he places his guard upon the entire Jewish nation all over the world from Eretz Yisrael. And the Eibishter Hashem yinkom dama, Hashem should revenge her blood, together with all those that have perished until now. And we should see all of this with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach on a good and revealed basis, with the third and the eternal Beis HaMikdash, and the Geula HaShlema V'Amitis, the true and the complete redemption. It should be Teichef from Yad Mamesh, and from now on, we should only have good news on a good and revealed basis. In honor of the month of Elul, we're going to present a very special story that I heard on Friday, Erev Shabbos. It's a true story, and it's as we know, we tell amazing stories on this channel. There was a couple that got married. A young couple that got married, and they were living a very humble life. The husband sat and studied in Kollel and made a small wage from his Kollel study, and the wife was the main provider that went out to work, and they lived a very happy life. Not being involved that much in the mundane material world. But nevertheless, on Shabbos, when they, upon opportunity, when they would go visit the in-laws, the husband's parents, so the husband's parents were very well off, and the sisters were all married to very well-to-do people, husbands. And they all would, Friday night at the meal, not that they meant that they had any bad intentions, chas v'sholem, God forbid, but they would show off their jewelry. This one would show off her diamond ring, the other one would show off her diamond ring. Each one of these diamond rings costing thousands of dollars, their value. And our young married couple, our young married Kala, would have a very challenging time at the Shabbos table. When she would go home, the husband had to spend an enormous amount of time to comfort her and to make her feel better and to remind her that this is the life that they chose. And him being a full-time Kollel student was not in the position to go into and to purchase such glamorous jewelry as his brother-in-law's. The wife usually would calm down until one Shabbos, one Friday night. They came home, and when the husband turned around, he couldn't see his wife. He looked in the bedroom, and she was sitting on the bed, pouring tears, rivers of tears. And he tried to calm her down, but it didn't help this time. And he's trying to think, what can he say in order to go and to restore his wife's serenity? The only thing that came to mind was the only thing that his wife really wanted, apparently, and this is a diamond ring. So he went and he gathered courage, and he told his wife, listen, I know that we haven't taken care of this issue till now, but I'm going to make sure to purchase for you a diamond ring. And she just heard diamond ring, and she stopped crying, looked up with tears in her eyes and said, are you serious? He said, of course, my dear wife, I'm very serious. There's no doubt in my mind. If this is the way Hashem has rolled our lives in divine providence, apparently this is what is needed. His wife calmed down upon hearing this, and the next day, Shabbos, the husband finds himself in shul, and under his talis, but in Shachris, in the morning service, he's the one that's sobbing and crying tears, rivers of tears, and he's praying to Hashem and saying, Hashem, the only thing that'll bring shalom bayis to my home is a diamond ring. But you know, like I know, that we don't have any financial ability to go and to obtain a diamond ring. So I pray and I ask of you, please, somehow, some way, give me a diamond ring to give my wife. Shabbos is out, and the new week begins, and the husband finds himself at the opening of the jewelry shop in town. Goes into the shop, looks at the different jewelry, and the owner asks him, what can I help you with? And he says, well, I need a diamond ring. The storekeeper looks at him, and he sees this is not an individual that has the budget for a diamond ring. But after thinking a moment or two, he says to him, listen, I don't know if you have enough in order to purchase a real diamond ring, but I have this. And he takes out from one of the drawers a beautiful gold ring with a magnificent stone. And this stone looked like the most perfect diamond that you ever saw. And he shows it to him and he says, if I don't have a budget for a diamond ring, so why are you showing me this ring? The storekeeper smiles and he says, I'll tell you why. Because this ring you can afford. How can I afford it? He says, because this stone, the diamond, is not a real stone. If it's not a real stone, it's not going to make my wife happy. He says, don't worry. It's not a real stone. But this stone is so perfectly polished and cut that only a professional eye like myself can tell. And since I'm the only jeweler in town, I don't think that you have any challenges and you're safe if you take this ring. He says, you sure? He says, 100%. Okay, how much does it cost? Instead of thousands and thousands of dollars, he says it's 500 shekel. 500 shekel? Listen, it's going to be difficult, but I can organize 500 shekel. The store owner says, no problem. He puts it into a very, very beautiful box, and he gift wraps it with a ribbon, puts it into a bag, and he says, here, trog Gesundheit. Your wife should wear it in health. Fine. He goes home, and his wife comes later on in the afternoon. She comes home from work, and he smiles at her and says, I have a surprise for you. She says, what? Already? He says, yeah. He says, where? He takes out of his pocket the gift wrap ring, and he gives it to his wife. His wife is shaking, tremoring from awe and joy. She opens it up, and she sees the box, opens the box, and there in front of her eyes, she sees a diamond ring. And she is so happy. She's the most happiest woman on the face of the universe. She looks at her husband and says, but how were you able to purchase it? This must have cost a fortune. He says, don't worry. Hashem provides for everyone. And he knew and he saw that we needed a diamond ring. So he provided for us too. She didn't ask questions. The only thing she said was, listen, please organize that for this coming Friday night, we eat the Shabbos night dinner by your parents' house. He said, by my parents' house? Are you sure? She says, yes. I can finally save the pride of the family. Here, I'm going to wear this ring for the Friday night dinner. And so they wind up at the at Leil Shabbos Friday night at the in-laws' home, and everyone's sitting there, the brother-in-laws, the sisters or sister-in-laws, and all of a sudden, by Netilas Yadayim, when they're washing, all the other sister-in-laws are putting their rings in their mouths, or they're putting on the side to wash, and all of a sudden they see that she's taking off a ring, and they give a look and they said, what a ring? And they're all in amazement. They never saw such a beautiful diamond ring, and with such a large stone. They said, wow, where did you get this from? So she says, oh, my husband made the effort, and after a great struggle, he brought us with the grace of Hashem, he was able to bring us a diamond ring. Oh, the whole evening, that was the talk of the Shabbos meal, the new diamond ring of the sister-in-law. Shabbos meal ended, they went home, and the husband saw a totally changed wife. Years went by, and the couple had 2 daughters, and finally these 2 daughters came to their time to be married off. The mother goes to the husband and says, listen, where are we going to have an adunya? Where are we going to have a dowry to give in order to marry off our 2 daughters? And the husband's quiet, and the wife is thinking, and she says, listen, I have an idea. I don't know if you're going to like it so much. What's the idea? Can you remember years ago, you brought me that diamond ring? And his eyes open up like, what? She says, yeah. If we go and we sell the diamond ring, we obviously will have a humble sum in order to go and to at least have something towards marrying off our daughters. The husband is tremoring and trembling, and he looks at his wife and he says, no, we can't sell that diamond ring. So she says, what do you mean? Is there anything more important than the children and marrying off the children? And Bezrat in Yirtzeh Hashem having grandchildren? There can't be anything more important. I pass on the diamond ring. I already had it for so many years. I think this is the way to take care of it. He said, no, I don't think so. And she says, listen, I know that it's difficult for you. Don't even give it a thought. I'll take care of it. It's all on my shoulders. And he's quiet. Shabbos comes, and he goes to shul. And again, he's in tears. And he's shedding rivers of tears underneath his talis. And he's crying to Hashem. And he's saying, Hashem, what am I going to do now? She's going to go and she's going to sell the ring. And she's going to find out that the ring is not even worth 500 shekel. By now, it probably lost its value. And not only are we not going to be able to marry off our daughters, but our shalom bayis will be totally ruined. He prays and davens, and Shabbos goes by. His wife goes straight to the jeweler, the only jeweler in town. She comes in and she says, listen, here's a diamond ring, and I want to sell it, and I want to know how much is it worth. The jeweler looks at it, and he takes a deep thought, and he says, "Hold on, I need my equipment in the back room, and then I'll be able to tell you more about the ring." He goes to the back room, and he starts thinking, because immediately when he saw the ring, he knew that it's not a diamond ring. This is the ring that he sold years ago to the kollel student. But what is he supposed to tell the wife? And why is the wife here trying to sell the ring? He comes out and he says, "Listen, this is a very special ring, but I want to know, why do you want to sell it?" And she's very straightforward. She says, "Well, we have these two daughters, we need to marry them off, and we need money. And now comes the time, and I'm willing to sacrifice the diamond ring that my husband brought here years ago in order to be able to go and to marry off our daughters." The jeweler heard this, and he realized what kind of predicament he's standing in front of. He looked again at the ring, and he says, "Listen, I told you this is a very special ring. It's so special that it's like too hot for me to handle. In other words, the amount that I need to give you isn't even it's not, I don't even have this amount to give you. But I have a brother in the neighboring town. He's also a jeweler. He is more of a professional. He'll be able to give you a better assessment of the diamond. Go to him, and hopefully he'll also have the money in order to buy the ring and give you the cash." She doesn't think twice. She says, "Thank you very much." She goes out, and she's on her way to the next town. In the meantime, this jeweler picks up the phone and calls his brother in the next town. And he tells him, "Listen, my dear brother, we have a mitzvah at hand, and you have to help me." And the brother on the other side of the line asks, "What mitzvah?" He says, "It's mitzvah's hachnosas kala. It's not one kala, but we're marrying off two kalas. And not only are we marrying off two kalas, but we're going to also maintain shalom bayis, peace in the home of a family in Israel." And he says, "Well, what's needed?" He says, "What my thought is that when this woman comes to you, tell her that you would like to give her for the ring $30,000. He says, $30,000? You sure? He says, yes, and don't worry. It's half and half. You 15,000 and I 15,000. He says, you sure you want to do such a big mitzvah? He says, I know this case from very close, and I think that this is a mitzvah that Hashem rolled into our laps, especially so that we will be able to perform the mitzvah. The brother says, listen, it's a one in a million situation, but since you're asking, I'll go along with the plan. The woman comes to the brother, and he looks at the diamond, he looks at the ring, he also puts it under different equipment, and he says, listen, I'm willing to give you $30,000 for this ring. The woman almost faints on the spot. She said, what? She said, yes, I know that maybe the ring might be worth more, but this is all I have here ready in cash in order to be able to give you. She says, fine, that'll be great. Wrap it up. So he puts the money in front of her, and he says, please count it. You're not allowed to give money without counting. She never saw such an amount in front of her eyes. But, with her hands trembling again, she's counting and counting until she gets to 30,000. She puts it into the envelope. And the jeweler says, you should use it gesundheit. You should use the money in good health. She goes back home, and this time it's her turn to surprise her husband. The husband comes home from kollel, And she smiles at him and says, listen, we have a surprise. And he's thinking, Oy Gewalt, she found out. She knows the secret about the fake ring. And she says, here. She takes out of her pocketbook an envelope and she says, count it. He says, what? She says, please count it. He says, what's in here? She looks at him and she says, $30,000. And he almost faints on the floor. He counts the money, and they, Baruch Hashem, were able to go and to marry both daughters off in a good tashah, in a good and auspicious time. The story continues that these two brothers were approached by a multimillionaire who asked them to provide him with rings. He says he has 200 employees in his company, and he wants to give them a memento for their outstanding work. And he decided that he wants to give each and every one of them a gold ring with a diamond. 200 gold rings with diamonds. You'll never forget this amount. The brothers were employed to make the rings, and altogether they were paid $350,000. Not a penny less. $350,000. So we see that they also were rewarded for their mitzvah. But what does this have to do with the month of Elul? As we said at the beginning of the story, there must be something that we're supposed to learn out from. What's the moral of this story for Elul? The moral is very simple. When we're talking about Elul, and we're talking about bettering ourselves, adding in our good resolutions for the new year, in regard to our Torah study, in regard to our the mitzvahs, the acts of goodness and kindness that we do. So many times we come across the Yetzer Hara, who comes and challenges us, and he says, what is your small act is going to make a difference by Hashem? Hashem is used to receiving real diamond rings, the polished and the shined, most accurately cut real diamond rings. Your act, your deed, your small addition in Torah study, your good resolution for the year, that's not going to really make any difference. It's not going to move Hashem in any manner. So the Yetzer Hara says, initially, forget it. Don't even try. And this is what our story comes to teach us. When we're talking about what Hashem appreciates, when we're talking about what is important, what is valuable, what is a real diamond ring to Hashem, it's not necessarily the most expensive diamond, like we said, polished and cut, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is what the Torah tells us. This is one of the major teachings of the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. Rachamona liba boy. Rachamona, Hashem, liba, he requests from the Jew, from us, from each and every individual, our hearts, or more accurately, the intentions of our heart, the feelings of our heart. When we do a good deed, no matter how minute and how small our good resolution might be for the new year, Hashem appreciates it when it comes from all our heart. And when it comes in the proper, with the proper intention and the proper feeling from the bottom of our heart, this is more valuable. This is more important to Hashem than all the diamond rings, the real diamond rings in the world. And this, with all the resolutions that we'll be making in honor of the new year, and all the additions that we already are making in our study of Torah, in our observance of the mitzvahs, this should bring immediately now the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach on a good and revealed basis, in a manner of happiness and joy of the heart, in a manner of peace and tranquility. And the Eid V'Hua'iker, it should be Teichef Umiyad Mamish, 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 with a Ksiva V'Chasima Teva, Leshona Teva Umesuka, which should be written and inscribed for a good and sweet year. La'alter Teichef Umiyad Mamish. Yechi Adonenu Moreno V'Rabbeinu HaMelech Ha'Moshiach Li'olam Voed.